I felt like a failure. I was surrounded by the progeny of my family, what seemed like dozens upon dozens of children. It was Thanksgiving, and I was doing some evil calculations to make myself feel even worse. Among my 7 aunts and uncles and my 10 grown adult cousins, I was not only the last remaining single person. That was no big deal. I was super used to that. I was also now the last non-parent adult. And I felt like I had failed to get into the only club I was naturally just born into. So, this felt like crap, but, originally that's not how I felt. At first, I felt proud. It was like a feat, The force was strong in this gene pool, and somehow I'd managed to sort of chart this course in this bold new direction. And I just thought that this was something that was going to happen to me, this husband and kid thing. Like, the women in my family averaged something like 2.4 kids each. With me in the pool, it brought it down to like 1.8, but still, it was a lot of kids. And I just thought, like, one morning I would wake up to the smell of my husband's fart and roll over, and I'd have this like protruding belly, with child, and I'd have this like talking heads moment of like, who is this, and what is this place, and is this my life? But none of that was happening. Nothing was actually happening at me or to me. And I realized I kind of wanted that farting husband and that protruding belly. And so, I came back to D.C. and I was like, it's time for me to take matters into my own hand. It's like the rest of life. You just got to go for it. And okay, this partner thing is not really happening. Maybe the family will happen before. So I make an appointment with the fertility center known as Baby R Us. You know what I'm talking about. And I go over there, and she calls me back to her office, and it's super luxe. Like, there's a view, and there's a really nice desk, and I'm like, okay, Obamacare is not going to cover this. And she starts talking about options. And I'm starting to see, like, dollar bills just going before my eyes. She's talking about a fertility test, and she doesn't give me specifics, but it's like $700, and then a genetic test is $800, and then the whole sperm thing is like $100 to $500. I'm like, whoa. And so I mentioned, I have a friend, an ex, that wants to be the donor, and she said, oh, okay, that's great, that's fine. It'll take 6 months to prepare his sperm. I'm like, no, it won't. But no, really, I'm just thinking, like, I just picture some old ladies with, like, a big vat and, like, just turning it, like, 6 months to prepare this guy's sperm. Like, what are we talking? So I just am thinking about this, and I drop the bomb. I have to say it. I'm like, what if I conceive through intercourse? And I swear to God, I thought she was going to, like, stick her finger under her desk and push that red button that's like, wah, wah, warning, wants to conceive naturally. And then I was going to be, like, ejected out of my chair and onto the sidewalk, and there'd be, like, a Matrix moment. Like, none of that ever happened. But she didn't. She just looked at me, and she was like, well, if you want to have intercourse with him, why not just co-parent with him? Well, I was like, how do I answer this? Like, okay, maybe she was doing something, useful, like dissecting monkeys while the rest of us were watching Sex and the City. Or, like, do I got to explain the whole sexual revolution to her? Like, whiteboard it? Do I go all the way to the suffrage movement and work my way? What kind of answer is she looking for here? And so instead I just say, like, well, I just don't think wanting to have intercourse with someone is sufficient criteria to co-parent a child with them for the rest of my life. And she kind of gets it, and she backs out, and she's like, okay, and she wraps up the appointment. And then I kind of leave. I don't really feel pumped. I thought I would, and it's like, I thought I'd have this, like, rocky, here we go, and it was kind of like, eh. And I come back 6 months later. I've done all the fertility tests. I'm ready to take the next step. And it's a largely medical appointment, thank goodness. It's very technical, very logistics, like blood types and things like that, and ovulation testing and all this great stuff. And I'm feeling good about it until the last 5 minutes. She decides to delve into her pseudo-therapeutic, like, Law and Order line of interrogation again, and looks at me and says, can I ask, what happened with you and your ex? And I'm like, dude, I mean, what happened with me and my ex is, for me, a huge algorithm with like 10 variables that would take at least 2 hours to go through the play-by-play and a strong cup of coffee. Why are you asking me this the last 5 minutes? I'm thinking, she's like wanting the cliff notes, like he likes chocolate ice cream and I like vanilla ice cream. Go figure, it didn't work out. I mean, I don't know what she wants, you know? What's going on? So I was just like, so I decided to do the reverse interrogation technique, and I turn it around and I say, are you married? And then I catch like the ring on her finger. I'm like, yeah, you're married. And I was like, well, and then I choke up. And I get a little teary, and she pushes the tissue box towards me, and she says, you don't have to answer. And I pick up the tissue, and I pat my eyes, and I say, no, I want to. I say, it's not easy dating in your late 30s. And I've had 2 people want to do this with me and then it not work out. And then I lose it completely. I start to cry, and it's coming out, and I take another tissue, and eventually get my breath back, and I pull myself together, and she says, okay, let's wrap it up, and I leave. And in the weeks later, I sort of get used to all of this, the financial aspects, the day-to-day aspects, the societal aspects, my kid explaining to its friends, like, why there's no daddy, all that stuff, but I still can't go forward with it. And I decide to get away and clear my head. I use my miles. I go to Beirut. I know it's weird, but I feel good in Beirut. I don't know why. It's a war zone, you know. It's like very like live for the day type of thing. And so I'm over there with friends, and sure enough, over time, I start to see that it seems to me that though I'm late on my family's timeline, I'm kind of rushing ahead on my own. That for my 2.4 future kids, this whole failure thing needs to be out of my head, and I need to just feel good again. And so I decided to wait a little bit, and a couple of days later, around the time that I was supposed to get inseminated, I found myself on the back of a Harley. I was riding up Damascus Highway, and a friend of a friend was driving, and it was empty, which is rare in Beirut. There were no cars around, and the wind was just blowing through my hair, and I sort of lifted my arms up, and I felt free. I felt like myself, and it felt great. Thanks.